What up? What up? This is Dan and Mark. It is November 19th, 2025, and you're watching the State of Nativewind. Um, Mark, I've decided to take over the intro thing because I think it's smoother. We keep trying to get it smoothly, and it's like the
Yeah,
handoff, and it doesn't work.
we
So,
just need an actual script that we can follow.
oh
So it'll
yeah,
be fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
in real time script. But for
hmm
anyone unclear, Mark is the author, creator of Nativewind, and I am a maintainer of Nativewind. Armand, what's going on? Um, so yeah, today we have had a kind of like both of us pretty busy weeks respectively this past week. So we're largely going to speak to where each of us are spending like the top of mind items for us going into this next week. So for me, that largely looks like taking Nativewind UI, which is currently running version 4 of Nativewind, which is a Tailwind v3, and migrating that to using version 5 of Nativewind, reflective of Tailwind version 4.1. Um, in that, I hope to surface a whole bunch of stuff, which I'll log and convey to Mark, and/or we'll sort of both hand things off. And I'm also hoping to, in the process, just record some like little videos, like 120-second things along the way that I'll use kind of as a new form of content to help like just share little things out. And yeah, that'll probably be like, as far as published, that will probably be like 2 weeks. We're coming up on the holidays, so it's a little tricky. I'll be traveling starting Saturday. Um, but I think I'll have a good amount of time to like mess around with that stuff. So yeah, that's that. And then once that migration is done, I'll be jumping into building out Uniwind UI, which will be sort of like an equivalent for the Uniwind ecosystem. So curious to see how that plays out. I think it'll be neat. I'm excited to give Uniwind a proper go and see what that experience is like. And is there anything else? Oh, I guess yeah. The some of the doc stuff I have picked up and would like to wrap up an LLM supported version of the migration guide. So for folks who are trying to migrate from version 4 to version 5, a lot of the issues people seem to be running into, oddly, have to do with like a lack of understanding of what has changed in Tailwind overall. So they're complaining about things that just like, fam, read the Tailwind docs kind of thing. And so um, I'm hoping that the migration guide that is, like I said, LLM supported will serve those people to understand like what has changed in Tailwind overall in this transition, and also how is Nativewind functioning differently, because there's like a handful of things there that have changed. For those who have generally been aware of how Nativewind functions, how Tailwind functions by extent, those people have said that version 5 is largely like pretty solid, with just a sprinkling of things that need to be either documented and or addressed, safe area insets, kind of like clarity on like dark mode stuff. Um, yeah, so I just want to spend some time on places in the documentation where I started something but didn't quite wrap it up because other stuff came up, basically. So that'll be where I spend my time the next week. Those are my high priority items. Mark, do you want to share what's top of mind for you?
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned it there, the safe area. There's really three technical issues that I want to look at, and I'm expecting to address. I've got some time set aside on Monday. Unfortunately, probably on next we'll be looking at this. So safe area. Uh, inline style merging with class names. So if you have a mix of both, they don't always merge properly. And shorthand properties not always applying properly. So you can notice that with stuff like transform shorthands and some of the box shadow things as well. Those styles, it's all the same logic behind the scenes, not really merging properly. And I want to try and get out of the fix for those on Monday. I was planning on doing it this week. Just life gets in the way.
It really does.
Yeah, and unfortunately, when this is not your full-time job, yeah, you gotta make time concessions. But I blocked aside some time, so I'll be getting that out on Monday. And if all goes well as well, I'll have an even bigger release later in the week, which is you just got a lot of cleanup of the code essentially. So that will allow us to kind of push out features more. But even better is going to have some more documentation around how people can contribute to the contribute to the project via the code base. So there's a lot of cleanup there to make the code a lot simpler, easy to read for people to use as well. After this week, I'll see where the bugs are. I'm hoping we've mostly squished the big ones there, and we can start working towards the stable release that I want to get out before the Christmas break, so that people go away on holidays. We always see a spike in usage as everyone starts summer, American their winter holiday projects over the break. So I kind of want to make sure that we kind of hopefully have a stable release before that kind of spike hits us.
Sure. Yeah, I hope that pairs well with like the timing of all the different documentation. We've had a number of folks reaching out about wanting to contribute to Nativewind, and that's awesome. And I understand that it's very intimidating to jump in and try to figure out, like, one, how does this project work, and two, how do you meaningfully contribute to it? So I think that code cleanup
and that code cleanup comes with literally pages of documentation about how the code works in just text in English explaining concepts.
Okay,
so
that's good.
That helps with people contributing to the project, which then stops what we're kind of in now, where I'm the bottleneck, right? And people who want to contribute are not too sure how to contribute. So I'm trying to make it easier for people to jump in and work from there.
And for what it's worth, I think splitting React Native CSS out of Nativewind was a huge step in that direction to allow for that.
Yes.
I think further, because whenever I jump into a new code base sort of by myself and with the help of LLMs, my first question is, what the fuck is happening here? You know, like, what is this code base trying to do? And what am I then specifically, you jump into doing something and eventually that'll show you what you should be doing, kind of thing. And so long as the code base is conducive, we lost Mark there for a second. He'll jump back in a second. But what I was saying is, so long as the code base is conducive to, welcome back, Mark.
My Wi-Fi just dropped.
That's crazy. Welcome to Australia. Yeah, I was saying, so long as the code base is conducive to being able to like ask that question and get a meaningful answer, either by your own means of digging through things or using an LLM, it will become very clear. And I think I would argue the first thing to understand about Nativewind, or I should say React Native CSS, more specifically, the underlying core that makes Nativewind function. The core thing to understand is the suite of tests. Because without that, like, you can't make a contribution. It's so vast in what it's trying to do. It's like this massive, like, from X to Y type of code base that, like, without not necessarily understanding exactly what each test is doing, but what the suite of tests is meant to check for, you won't quite understand how, like, oh, I'm going to make this change to it. The tests absolutely have to pass, like, before anything can be brought in, because it's so easy to make a change and have it, like, mess something up down the line. Your ability to understand how it will mess something up is almost like a completely separate kind of thing, and that comes with time. So that's my
I've been
current
actually thinking
assessment.
about that. I'm going to go
Yeah.
off on a tangent here,
Hmm.
because I was recently helping a friend with something, and he's very into vibe coding. Um, as in, like he's
Like the
I'm not gonna say he
religious one where it's like you're believing more what it's saying rather than understanding.
more like his ideas of what he wants to achieve is slightly more than his skill set. Not trying to throw him under the bus, but he acknowledges that, so he relies on AI a lot. And he showed me something that actually blew my mind because I'm used to writing jest tests, like jest, render this component, click this thing, stuff like that. Um, and the problem he had with those tests is he was getting AI to generate them, but he couldn't understand what the test was doing and the intention of the test because there was too much code reading. So he had switched over to Cucumber tests. Have you used
No,
Ruby
I've
and
never even
Cucumber
heard
before?
of cucumber tests.
Oh man, it's like a big back in the day in Ruby in E to E. It's being able to write tests in natural language. So you say like
Interesting.
render a div on the screen with this class name, assert that it has these styles. Like you write that in plain English and it runs that as a test. And he had literally hundreds of these tests because they were all in plain English, and the LLMs were able to just like generate them like crazy. And because they
Uh-huh.
were in natural language, he knew exactly what they were doing. Um,
I
just
like
like,
that.
yeah, absolutely blew my mind about how convenient that was. Because he had a better test suite in his like projects than I had in most of mine, just because he had managed to set up his code base in a way that LLMs could just like go nuts and generate literally hundreds of
Yeah.
tests.
I I like that from a high level simply because like it stems from who are the tests meant to serve? Are they meant to serve the
Yeah.
machine or are they meant to serve the user who's like working on the thing? And I would argue somewhat both, but much more so the latter. Because when we're working on something and you make a change and say something breaks but the tests are passing, then it's like,
Mm-hmm.
can you find the rule that in plain English, like you said, in a way that's very intelligible to you, is like, oh, here, either we're just lacking the one, that asserts that that should work, and so we need to add it, or something else is the problem. Otherwise, you're having like right now, if I think about the way the Nativewind test suite is organized, it's like with each test, of which there are damn near 1,000, I think,
Thousand tests,
um,
yeah.
you have to see the test and then also be like, what is this testing? You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
it is unfathomable to do that 1,000 times. And so
Yeah.
you're left with no other approach than to have an LLM or an external
Kind of like
party,
explain
like
which,
intern.
yeah. Or just like
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
lot of code comments in there explaining what a test does.
Yeah. So you end up doing it anyways. So it's like, well, okay, if that's the case, then, well, we might as well do that anyways, you know? Um,
Yeah, that's kind of like was like the light bulb moment for me. And I was like, man, you're onto something here in terms of
yeah.
like inexperienced people getting them to write tests and understand what the tests are doing. So I'm not going to like go through and rewrite all of our tests, but I am going to keep them in
But
the
I'm
back of
going to
my
go
mind
through and
as
rewrite all of my tests.
um, but as inspiration in the future. And honestly, it was not hard for him. Like he said, it was like 300 lines of like setup code. Like that's all it was, and then it was just like hundreds of
Hmm.
tests. Yeah,
I
very inspiring.
Another thing I'm realizing also, like in that vein, is if people start contributing in that way, then it's probably worthwhile for us to come up with like a set of rules for the Nativewind code base because people sort of come with
Mm.
their own set
Yeah.
of stuff. Each person has their own like cursor rules set up or whatever you're using, and subsequently we can end up with contributions that look or feel like slightly different, and it would be useful for people to be able to just be like, okay, I don't need to necessarily understand a lot of the syntax choices or
Hmm.
whatever type choices that are in place here. I'm just like, I'm focused on what I'm trying to do and drop in replacement. Here's what the rules are for this code base. So um, that I imagine is going to be a thing over time. I don't even know if you've been following one set of rules or if that will be addressed in the cleanup. Is that
I mean, the tests are quite similar for most of them.
that's true by
Because
necessity?
yeah, and I also don't like helper functions too much inside a test. And if I do, then I like to just have the one helper function that I use everywhere, which is what the tests do. They have like a fancy render function.
Mhm.
But the code base needs a bit of cleanup in terms of like style and stuff like that. Mostly just in like logic, but we've also got like a fairly heavy, prettier ESLint config, which forces a certain coding style. So it's more just like how you lay out your business logic, where people can change an opinion and stuff like that.
What one question I have actually is, even with like, because you can change the way the code is structured and then you can read the code, like whatever, fine. But like, how much with, especially going into version 5, how much do you have to be aware of what will be generated, kind of thing, rather than what's simply written, right? With respect to when you're trying to fix something. My understanding is actually with version 5, that's even less the case. With version 4, you have to be more aware of that kind of stuff, the like meta level stuff, than in version 5.
Yeah, Virtual's a bit simpler in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then the code is going to end up being closer to the source of truth with the dynamic of React Native CSS and Nativewind version 5
Yeah.
than it
Yeah.
was previously.
Yeah.
Okay. And that code cleanup is going to serve version 5. That's not necessarily going to be
No, just
backport.
version 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the priority needs to be that, and then just making the transition as easy as possible for folks. Um, yeah. Yeah. It's really not all that much either. Like it really isn't a huge list of
Like,
changes.
no, it's just
Yeah.
kind of getting it all out the door, getting it to pass everything. It's just
Right.
complex. That's all.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I'll be sharing some more stuff to reiterate on my changes to Nativewind UI, which I feel I haven't like meaningfully touched in a non-trivial amount of time, and that will serve like some of the things we'll have coming up in the coming weeks to help folks with the migration. And meanwhile, you'll be powering through just an overall code cleanup for specifically folks who want to contribute to the technical side of Nativewind, of which there are many. And I think that's really where the power of the code base like shows up, is like there's a lot of people who want to contribute, who want to make it better, um, and they should be able to do so. So yeah, and then stable release. I think you said hopeful by stable release of version 5. That is by Christmas.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Sweet.
We'll see. The plans change, but that's the current one.
Fingers crossed. That
Yeah.
is the plan. Okay. I don't have anything else then. Outside of that, did you have anything as far as the React Native ecosystem as a whole that you wanted to flag, or?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, thank you for joining for what is otherwise a shorter version of State of Nativewind, and we will catch you in the next one. Have a good day or evening or wherever you are. Adios.
See you guys.